Hello guys, hello, welcome to this new live chat and let's see who's logging in this evening. Hey Debbie, how are you? I hope you guys having a great evening. Another day has passed. We hope that the good news will come to all of us very soon. So, update on my health. I've been told the other day that I'm still positive. So that has been already 3 weeks right now. So I hope everything will be turn out to be good for me. And I'm feeling okay. I'm a little bit tired. My cough is still here, but beside that, everything is good. So we have about 8 people, and it's 9:31 in New York. So we should start. Um, Let me write something here. Right. Okay, guys. So let me go back. Okay. So I put together about 30 images where I can give you some tips and suggestion on how to improve your posing skills. Some of them are from weddings, some of them from workshops, and the rules is valid across the border. Of course, when you're dealing with models, it's a little bit easier rather than having a regular, bride and groom to pose. So when you have a wedding, it's a little bit challenging and create some more difficulties, but overall the concept is always the same. And I want to also tell you that when I pose, I always pose starting from the feet and going up. So the last thing is upper body, hands, face, shoulder, and everything. So usually the last thing you say is the one that stays with your with other person strongest in their memory. So regardless of that, posing for me is still a very challenging part of the photography day. Much more challenging than off-camera flash, much more challenging than exposure. For me, it was always something that I was struggling, and I'm still struggling. Fact, because I'm a little bit introvert, so that doesn't help me with the situation. Hey Roberto, Debbie, thank you so much. Carol, always happy to see you here. So let's start immediately with the first image. Guys, if you don't hear me well or the images are not clear enough or there is something, please write them in the comments so I can always take a look. Okay. Okay, let me switch to my Lightroom. Okay, over here you see this beautiful bride. I selected two images over here, this one and this one. Okay, so it's from exactly the same wedding, of course, same, maybe a few seconds apart. That one was the first picture, then I moved to this one. On this one I actually use an off-camera flash that was on right outside the piano on the right side, speed light with a grid just to lift the shadows from the bride's face. Beside that, and of course over here on the other one there is no flash because she was facing actually the window that is on camera left. You can see you can see the white part of the window next to the chandelier. So that's just to always talk about off-camera flash and lighting. That is always something that I'm sure you like it. So posing wise, I wanted to feature the back of the dress. I wanted to feature how elegant the bride was. So when you pose somebody, you also have to read and understand your subject. If someone is introvert, is insecure, or is a little bit clumsy with her not naturally organic posing, you cannot pull off a lot of poses. So you would shift your posing instruction differently than someone that is more confident with herself, with her posing, with her figure and everything. So you have to read your subject, okay? That's why talking to your bride and groom, or to your model, or to somebody, it's very important. For example, if some of you were at my photo walk in WPPI, before everybody came, I had this talk with the model, and I asked a few questions just to get an idea of which kind of level she was, and she was telling me that, oh yes, I've been very experienced. So I asked, how long have you been modeling for? So, oh, about 6 months to a year. So that tells me already that she wasn't very experienced modeling. And in fact, when the photo walk was evolving, I realized that she was not really familiar with the posing, with the where to put the legs, where to put the arms, and she was struggling with my instructions as well, and my class as well. So doesn't mean that models knows how to pose, because if they're not experienced, they will not give you the pose that you want. Anyway, for this beautiful bride, I wanted to, of course, I put the bride on that corner, not too close to the window, otherwise she will blend too much with the white dress. Of course, you want to expose perfectly for the dress, so the detail and the highlights of the dress are over there. Then posing wise, I was telling you I wanted to feature the back of the dress a little bit, so you can show the beautiful dress that she was having. And then I asked her to very elegantly pick up her dress a little bit and just bend the elbow, bend the fingers, have soft fingers. Details is always a key to create an amazing pose. So soft fingers, bend your elbow, whatever you can bend, let the subject bend. Okay, so bend your elbow, bend the wrist, bend the elbow, and then just look down over the shoulder. Okay, then that is one pose. Second pose is just look straight at the camera. Then another pose can just look straight ahead, following your shoulder like a profile. So you do a different micro pose in one sitting only. Okay, then over here again, same thing. I just ask her again, sorry for the cough, just now put your arm on your wrist, the other arm leaning on the piano, bend your wrist, soft finger, again look straight across the shoulder, then the other image, the other pose, straight out of the camera, straight into the camera, sorry, and the other one, then maybe you can look to camera right as well with a pop of a flash. Okay, so that's picture number one. Okay, I don't see any question. Sorry, there is a message from somebody. Okay, sorry. Now let me go to the next image. Okay, guys, if you have any question, please post them on the comments on every set of picture. I'll go back to Facebook so I can take a look. Now, from this wedding, from this scenario, Then we went outdoors. And this one was the picture that I took outdoors. The wedding was around this time of year, was end of March, but it was really cold actually. That on that day was on the 30s. But regardless of that, they wanted to go out. They know that I can create picture using off-camera flash and create something dramatic. So I love the clouds over here. So I'm talking about the composition a little bit. Clouds are gorgeous over here. Too bad the trees were still naked. Then I brought my huge veil, and again I asked her to bend her elbow and hold the veil with the two hands. It was pretty windy, you can see from the veil, so she couldn't really hold the wrist very bended. And then again, one thing that I learned from Roberto Valenzuela, and if you guys haven't read this book, he wrote amazing posing books. One of the things that that he said, when you create this kind of pose that bride and groom are facing each other, the two nose should never go on the same direction. So right now her nose is going this way and his nose is going this way. So always try to create like an X, imaginary X across their noses. Okay, when you do that, you create really interesting posing and images, because it's nothing that I mean, you always pose nose to nose. I do the same thing. One of the pose and look at each other, nose to nose, that's it. But or look in the same direction, both of them. But if she looks over here and he looks at her, it creates something interesting, something I cannot explain, but something that a pose that creates an interesting look to the image. Okay. The only thing maybe I should have noticed, his arm is on his pocket, and the other one is hugging her around her waist. Maybe I should have told him also to grab his left hand and then, you know, wrap around her waist and show some love, show some connection. They're a little bit not connected on this picture, even though you can see the connection from the face, but cannot see a connection from the lower part of the body. Okay, if he would have wrapped around with her arm and maybe bring her close a little bit, that would be a much stronger image. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the next image, guys. Let's see what we have now. That's a classic man portrait. Very classic, very nice. As you can see from the light, from the light. Sorry, I was using actually a video light, a nice light or a stick at this position on camera left. Sorry guys, I forgot something about that. On this image I use off-camera flash as well. It's coming from around the camera right outside the column. Okay, with the AD600, with the how you call it, the reflector, full power, and that's how I created. I was able to get the sky and expose for the couple as well. Okay, so let's go back over here. So this image, I use a video light to camera left, extreme camera left. You can see the shadows on his cheek, around right past his left eye. And again, posing a groom is much easier than posing a bride. They're always the same kind of poses, you know, fix your cufflinks, fix your bow tie, hands in your pocket, your watch, few things, and always create an important portrait for the man. It's very simple to pose a man, especially when they're good looking as well. Anyway, try always to play with your light and create interesting images. One thing I would have fixed is his right elbow is a little bit too high, maybe a little bit lower, and that's what bothers me the most about this image. Okay, so I picked some images that they are not totally perfect, but there are some thing that I wanted to show you so I can fix it for next time. So again, like I said last time, when you review images, you spot a mistake, just acknowledge it. It's okay to make mistakes, but now that I see this elbow, next time I won't be able to do the same mistake. I had a different elbow mistake on the last image. As you remember, I keep remember that images, and every time I see an image, I remember about the elbow. In this case, the same thing. So now let's see if I have any questions so far. So far everything's good. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, that's an image. I wanted to show you the behind the scene because it was really interesting, and I want to show you also how I create my images. So that is the actual image and the way I shot it, and that's how I finally edited it. Let me go back again. Boom. Okay, so beside the fact that I removed my assistant and my second shooter from here, I also removed the people over here, and then on Photoshop I create a second layer, underexpose it, and I left them with the mask out, the bride and groom, so they pop out a little bit more. Okay, now let's analyze this posing. Like I was saying before, that's a classic pose. Look at each other, face to face. Again, I think I keep making the same mistakes. Arm in your pocket. I would have preferred again to have his arm around her waist. But to excuse me on this one, I was really far on this image, so it was really hard for me to give instructions. I told them what to do to begin with, then I went all the way back to take the picture. So that what might have happened. Anyway, there's a very simple posing, face to face, her arm on her chest, on his chest, one arm around her waist, the other one in the pocket, or I prefer around her waist as well. Okay, was right summer day, and that's why I needed two off-camera flash, one for her and one for him. Okay, even though maybe one would have made it, I wanted to be sure that I nailed it perfectly, and I didn't have any shadows on their faces. Okay. So let's see any comment. Okay guys, you're good, no questions. Unless I'm missing something, I don't see any question. Okay, okay Debbie, can you tell me which picture you're referring to? So which lens, which f-stop are you referring to? If you tell me the pictures, I can gladly help you out. So let me move to the next image until Debbie answers me. Okay. So another tip that I like to share with you is any type of walking shots. I always prep my subject. I never just tell them just walk around and walk towards me and so on. No, I tell them what to do, specifically what to do, specifically what not to do. Okay, so when I do a walking shot towards the camera, I tell them, I tell the bride, in this case, Kathy, said, Kathy, when you walk, just walk naturally. Don't walk too fast. Don't walk too slow, and cross your legs. Okay. So by crossing the legs, you create this beautiful, sexy look. First of all, number two, if the bride or the subject or the model, which is not this case, is a little bit on the plus size, when you cross your legs, uh, it reduces the volume of your body. Okay, so if, for example, she would have uh, larger legs, when you cross your legs, this is like slims. It creates much slimmer look. Then I tell them, always smile, do not talk, because when you talk, you make weird faces the second you click. Look at each other, look around you, stop for a kiss. Don't look down because I don't want to take a picture of your head. And hold hands, stop for a second, just give stop for a second, kiss, and then keep walking. Okay, and I always make 2 or 3 takes. I don't just, even though the first one is amazing, you know what, let me take another one, maybe something else can happen, or maybe I didn't notice that they were closing eyes, so the second they were kissing. So always have a backup of the image, especially because when they're walking, it's very there are so many things, so many variables, like focusing, or a dog passing by, or a car passing by in the background. So it's a little bit challenging. Okay, so that is my tip for the walking shot. Okay, Debbie, so the last one, let me go back to the last image. Here it is. So I was using a 70 to 100 millimeter. Let me read it. It was at 1/2000 of a second, f6.3, ISO 100. Okay, let me see the focus length. I was at 84 millimeter on this picture. Okay, so it was pretty far. It was maybe 50 yards, 70 yards, something like that. Okay, so I always try to shoot at the lowest ISO possible, so I get the sharpest image possible. I was at high-speed syncs, 1/2000 of a second, f6.3. Okay. Now let me see. There was another question from Jody. Okay, Jyoti, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. So Jyoti, there is an image later on in which I use gel. So let me hold on your question, so I can explain you better later which how I use the gel and what to do in case you're using gel in which situation. For the last image where the 2 flash we're using, I did not use any flash. Per bulb with reflector, no gel, and that's it. I don't remember how what was the white balance on this. Let me check. Oh, sorry. Let me see. That's not a row, so I cannot even see the image. Sorry. So no, I don't have. It's not a row, so I don't have the white balance on this image. Sorry. It was 2.5 years ago, so I really don't remember the white balance on this one. Anyway, we did the walking shot. Now let's go to the next one. That's the same couple. That's the wedding day. So yeah, ask Kathy, just lean on the wall, and gonna have Andrew kissing her cheek, her neck. So I'm gonna give her an excuse to the bride to chin up. Okay, so it will start from the cheek, and was going down to the neck. So I gave her the excuse to chin up so he can kiss her on the cheek. But what was the excuse for? For the flash. So the flash was coming from camera right, of course. Yes, camera right from, let me see if I can see myself, so I know where to put the flash. So was coming from around here, whoops, to her face, okay? So I was having somebody with either a speed light or a video light, I don't remember, and from camera right, so she could lift her cheek. He was kissing. There is a flow in the posing. There is an excuse why she was lifting her cheek for the off-camera flash, because Andrew was kissing her. You see her left hand is just caressing his cheek, his neck. The right hand, I'm not so crazy about it. I would have her hand. I would have had her hand. Let me see. Here it is. Let me see if I can show you. On the over here. Okay. So she could bend that wrist. Right now her wrist is too straight. I would have had that wrist bend a little bit on the 90 degrees angle of his elbow. That's where I should have put her arm. Then the last tip, I ask her, last thing before taking a picture, arch your back. By arching her back, you see that curve, okay? You see that gap, that space. So her chest becomes bigger, her bottom shows better, the curve shows better, and looks much sexier, richer. If I would tell her to arch the back, she would just lay on the wall and chin up and waiting for his kiss. But now everything's right over there. The only thing that bothers me really is that right arm that should have been on that elbow over there. Okay. Okay, perfect, no question. I'm moving on, guys. Fast. Okay, let's go to the next one. So, Jody, that was the image I was talking about. Okay, now, there are a few things over here. Sorry, my throat is really dry, and I didn't want to cough. So anyway, so a few things over here to explain. Number one, I wanted to explain my the off-camera flash. Okay, so on this situation I use a blue gel. Now when you use a blue gel, you use it sorry, let me rephrase it. I use a blue gel. The blue gel helps you enhance the color, the red tone, red orange tone, which is a complementary color of the sky. Okay, now when you put a blue gel on your flash, okay, then your image of course looks much more on that tint. Okay, if you keep the white balance on the same, well, 5000. Okay, so right now let me go back here. Okay, now okay, I put a blue gel on my flash. Now you see my room is blue right now because I put a blue tint on my video light. So right now everything is blue. So the temperature is very cold, is over here. Now the sky in my picture, it was red, orange, so it's very high. Now you have this gap. Now when you put a blue gel, you need to balance that gap. How you fill that gap? By manually increasing the white balance temperature all the way up to 8 to 9000. Okay, so you're gonna match it. If you leave it at 5000, whatever it is, or auto white balance or whatever you're using, the skin tone will not match at all. So you have to balance that number, that gap, to match the sky. Now, when you bring the from blue gel from $3,000 from 3000 Kelvin all the way to 8,000-9,000, you're gonna match that red orange tint of the sky. Now, if you want to enhance the blue, you can do the reverse. You bring a CTO gel, and then you lower your white balance to 3500. So you do the opposite of what I just explained. Now, on this image again, I use the blue gel using AD200, and the AD200 had also a max sphere, and I was positioning the flash with my assistant from off camera right. So coming from there, gel, blue gel, max sphere, and then white balance, whoop, all the way to 8000. Okay, so you have to understand the color scheme of the temperature. Cold is very low number, warm is very high. So if you put a gel which has a very low color, like blue in this example, which is a 3000, and the sky is reddish, that's 8000, you have to match it. So you have to go up with your Kelvin. If the opposite, if you're using a CTO gel which is very high, you're gonna bring your temperature back to 3000, so it matches. Okay, I know it's really hard to understand, but sorry, but when you do it, try to try it with somebody, make a test, put the CTO gel, bring it down, put CTO gel, bring it down, put the blue gel, bring it up, and then you see the difference. Okay, now pausing. Again, same thing as the previous. I ask Eli to kiss her neck. That gives her an excuse to chin up, so the light from the off-camera flash will illuminate her evenly without any shadow on her face. Okay, you can see that the shadows are very sharp. I did not have any diffuser. I would have loved to have a big softbox, but I didn't have it, so it was actually kind of windy, so it was hard for my assistant to hold it with the modifier. Okay, so again, I asked her to break all the joints where possible. She had to hold this one straight to hold her weight, but I asked her for her arm just to lean on her thigh, bend this knee, so create like an S shape all across her body. Okay, I always ask my subject to breathe from the lips, not from the nose. So by breathing from the lips, they open the mouth a little bit, and it looks a little bit just sexier, just a little bit. Okay, so that's another tip that I like to share with you. No, I did not grid on the specific. I didn't grid my gel. Okay, so Jody, I didn't grid the gel on that one. Otherwise, it would be a little bit too narrow. I was afraid to miss the whole length of her body. Okay, now over here I have two images. Sometimes, sorry guys, sometimes I don't use off-camera flash, natural light, which is a natural way to do it. Again, you'll have to make you have to know your clients. For example, they're very easygoing of a couple. They are not very fancy. They're not. Uh, okay, my light went off. They're not. They don't. They're very simple people. Okay, so and I know her personally, so I know how she like things. Anyway, uh, these sometimes I create posing that are very natural, go with the flow, go with the personality of the couples. So in this case, just I just let them just have fun, just hold hands, be in love, smile, cracky jokes, and just pretend I'm not here. So it goes with the flow, it goes with everything. They start laughing, they start smiling, it's like sharing a kiss, holding hands, and that was the first one. Then I moved a little bit, and then I had the sun hitting them on the background and create that romantic look. You see how they're holding the hand still. Uh, I didn't tell them to rest their heads on each other. They just did it on their own. Maybe if they keep their eyes open, just tell them close your eyes a little bit, but you keep shooting. Or I have maybe 10, 20 of these images that telling the story of them. Okay. Yes, Carol, I love. Honestly, I love this image. This engagement session, the whole thing. I love it. I actually created an album for them, a layout. Maybe I'm gonna share with you guys as well. Um, Honestly, Jyoti, I don't know. I mean, Roberto Valenzuela again has another book for lighting, which is excellent. I recommend you that one as well. But off-camera flash is for me was more useful to practice, to make mistakes, to explore, to understand how everything works, rather than reading a book. Okay, so for me it's different. I'm more of a I have to see to understand on for off-camera flash, rather than posing is more technical, not technical, but more visual. So it was better for me to read a book. Okay. Now for this from the same session, then I told them just get up. I mean, she changed outfit, of course, and then we were in the same spot, just dance on the sand, run, just have fun, just create something that is belongs to you. So I had to tell them, had to, of course, had to let them understand. For example, not to turn again, giving me the back. For example, few things you have to make them understand where the camera is, so they know what not to do. Okay, so this image, then this image, they are playing around, are fooling around. It's all the whole session was like this until the sun was setting. That's when I pull out my my off-camera flash. Okay, then before that I saw this it is like an open brick house with, you see this opening like one after the other. It was gorgeous, and you know what, I love an image like this with doing a silhouette. I'm gonna bring my white balance all the way up to 8 9,000. I want to bring that orange color to the image, and of course I always tell them for example not to have the legs straight. Open your legs for him and bend her knees for her. Because a silhouette, you shouldn't have get attached to each other. They shouldn't be one whole image. They had to have a separation so you can see the figures of the couple. Then of course the sailboat was popping in the frame, was gorgeous. The wind was blowing the dress, high heel shoes, Everything was perfect on this image. Really something that I really liked it. Okay. So again, making posing is not having something in your head. Okay, just go with the flow. I know it's hard, especially for beginners, to pose people. That's actually one of the things that I will do at my wedding workshop, to create an engagement session, something like that, and you will see me giving instruction to the couple how I create images like this with the flow, and you will understand what does it mean to create images, to create pictures without posing the couple, but actually enjoying enjoy the session, and they will enjoy it as well. Instead of always pose here, put your legs over here, put your arms over there, look at me, look at her. So it has to be a flow. It has to be a story of them. Okay, and knowing the customer will allow you to create better images, because by knowing the personality, knowing them, you can then actually pose the couple better that fits their again their personality. Okay. Let me see any question. Okay, no question. Keep moving. Keep moving. Okay. Let's roll. Here it is. Now, then at the end of the session, I pull out my again my AD200 with I think it was a mag sphere. Honestly, I don't remember, but most probably it was a mag sphere. And the light was actually coming from off camera left, from my left. I was using an 16 to 35. Was shot at f11, 1/125th of a second, ISO 100. Again, ISO 100, lowest size as possible. Get the sharpest images. Let me see if I zoom in. Oh, no, that's a JPEG. So I want to see if I could. I was able to zoom in to see how sharp the image is. Probably I use a CTO gel in this case, and lower my white balance to between 3 to 4,000. Get the color out, and that's it. Very simple. One off-camera flash. Now posing for this image. Again, I tell them what to do. I tell him what to do. Okay. I don't just tell him just pick up Taylor and lift her up. No, you have to give an instruction. Otherwise, they don't know what to do. Okay. First of all, I tell them either to him, grab a position where you're stable in your with your feet, with your legs. In this case, he opened his legs a little bit wider so he has more grip on the ground. Or something else you can do, you can have him standing with one leg in the front, one in the back. Again, balance. Then I ask him, grab your fiancée from the bottom of the butt, so you have the grip. Okay. Then I usually tell him arch back. He didn't do it. She was a little bit. She's very skinny. He's not heavy at all, but it's better to arch back a little bit for him, so so it's easier for him to balance the weight, because when you pick somebody, you lean forward, so you have to counterbalance and arch back a little bit, so the the weight is evenly balanced on his body. Then of course I tell them look at each other, or she can look up if the hair doesn't fall on in front of him. On this case, she put the hair on the back, so few micro adjustment, and you can create 2-3 different shots. Look up, look down, look at each other, take kiss each other. So 3-4 images, 3-4 different micro poses within the same one. Of course, before you tell him to pick up the fiancé, test your flash, export for the background. Everything has to be spot on, and then you tell him to pick her up. Of course, another thing is tell him not to move too much, because then the beam of the flash will not be perfect where you posted the first time. Okay. Okay, I keep moving. I don't see any question. Now, same bride. I don't know why I picked so many pictures from this bride. Anyway, wedding day. Okay. Uh, they didn't want to go anywhere else. She wanted to stay in the venue, which is not the best venue for images. A little bit outside, a little bit inside. So I saw the back of her dress. Again, this is not a very pose image, but I wanted to share with you what I think when I'm in a situation where the location is not the greatest, or when you run out of ideas, so you want to create something different. Anyway, I wanted to show to show the headpiece, the flower headpiece, which is really gorgeous. And I had this idea: why don't I put Taylor in front of this window, and I overexpose a little bit, okay, and then on Photoshop, when I edit, everything becomes white. Okay, again, over here. So let me give you the EXIF of this image. I was using 24105. Okay, I use the 24105 when I am on the go. I'm very fast. I want to create something that have a lens in one of my two bodies that is wide and tight at the same time. So that's why sometimes I use the 24-105, and it's light as well, so not very heavy on my back, especially when I have a back problem. So 1/25th of a second, f4, which is the minimum of this lens, and ISO 640. So on purpose I overexpose to ISO 640. So over here you see that I'm losing the highlights of the curtains, and on her shoulder you see the spill of light from the window. That's the look I wanted to get. I want to get that that's kind of how you call it, dreamy look. Okay, and then I already had in my mind how to edit. So that's something that you should have in your mind, how I will edit this image. Okay, and that's the final thing. I create a second layer on Photoshop. I overexpose the second layer so everything becomes white, and then I mask her out so that she becomes part of the images again. Super simple way to Photoshop it. If you want, I can do it one day. I can create a tutorial for this edit if you don't understand how to do it. But again, I ask her to look a little bit off her right side so I can feature the earring. I can feature her cheek a little bit, and I can see the side of her piece. Okay, she was holding a bouquet, so hands tied to the waist, and that's it. Super simple image, something that looks gorgeous on a double spread of an album. Okay. Okay, I don't think I missed any comments over here, so keep going. Different bride, but same location, same venue. As you can see, it'll have a look of, I don't like this venue at all. Anyway, the windows has that green tintish, so when I use these windows, I always have to be careful with the green tint that the window passes on the subject. Anyway, I put the bride facing the window, so I'm using window light, which is a gorgeous type of light. From the shadows under the chair, you can see that this soft light was overcast that day, so that's another reason why I use window light in this case. so I didn't have direct light, but it was super diffused by the clouds. You can see from the shadow going from highlights to shadows how nice and soft that light is. Anyway, when you your bride in a chair, when you ask her, can you sit down in this chair, always ask her to sit at the edge of the chair. Why? Because if you sit all the way back, they slouch, they go back and they stay like this and they relax. If they sit at the edge, then they have to stay straight. Then of course you could tell them, arch your back, cross your legs. You always cross the legs where you actually would see the thigh. Okay, that's the sexy part of the leg. Okay. Of course you don't see it on this image because she's having the rope, and then of course she has the how you call it, the headpiece. So you want to feature the headpiece. That's a beautiful image for her, for the hair and makeup, so they can use it as well. You can share with them as well. You see how the light falls on her face, beautiful highlights and shadows. So I was telling you an image like this, a pose like this. Then you ask her, just look at her at your ring. So you ask her to play with the ring like this from the bottom, and you look like this, smile. Then she can look outside the window, she can look straight at you, and few micro poses as well. Okay. Of course you want to ask her to put her high heeled shoes, so that adds an element of glamour, sexy, and so on. Of course you have to fix her hair, that looks beautiful. Okay. And composition, having this image behind her of this mannequin, it gives a little bit of fashion to the image. So look around the room where where would be the best location for that image. We then went outside. As you can see, again, you can see that it's a cloudy day. There is not hard shadows on her face. There is no catch light because I did not use an off-camera flash. It was natural light. I wanted to give it a natural look. Posing wise, as you can see, I asked her to bend her elbow a little bit. I want to have the gap between the elbow and the back, so I want to see that gap. So by having showing that gap, I can see how skinny Deborah was. Okay, her hand at the bottom, very soft hand, and lean back a little bit. Open your shoulder so the chest comes out, arch your back, right leg crossing to the left, so it gives you that hourglass shape, and she looks even more skinny. Okay. Again, from her face, look at the expression. She's looking past me, not straight into the camera. Breathe from your lips, so you see that gap, that open lips, open mouth, that looks a little bit sexier as well. Okay, let me move forward now. This image, that's a beautiful venue. It's called the Legacy Castle. Really, it's magnificent. So this image again, do you see their nose? Again, his nose is going like this, her nose is going like this. They're always in the imagery line, they always crossover, sorry. Okay, so try to have that trick. Again, of course I have to give credit to Roberto Valenzuela for this trick. Always works in my posing. Again, now this time you see how he put his hands around her waist. She's holding his right hand. There is a contact, there is love, and it's a pose with the flow and everything that looks magnificent. My off-camera flash was on camera left between the handrail and the light lamp around that spot over there. Off camera flash AD600 with probably a Westcott, the one behind me, the small one, and so on. Just want to be sure. Actually, no, sorry, I made a mistake. The off-camera flash was coming from camera right. Camera right, because I can see the shadows over here. Okay, so camera right, 1780-600 with the softbox, and I had another image that from a different bride that I had from exactly the same setup, and the light on that shot was from camera left. Okay, let's see if I have any question here. Okay, no questions. Keep moving, guys. Okay, where are we now? To a few images from a workshop. Okay, now I picked these two images, and I look at these two images, and there is something that I want to show you. So, do you remember over here the gap between her right arm and her back? You see that gap? Now, over here I did a mistake. On her left arm I don't see that gap. Now you see how wider she is, because the arm has the same color, of course, of her outfit on the front. That arm, that foot adds to her figure. Now on the next one I fix it. Now you see how skinnier she looks. Now she's a model, everybody knows she's super skinny, and she really doesn't care if one of the picture she looks a little bit wider, but for a bride that is huge, because they are not usually as skinny, and to add another 6 inches to her waist is a big deal. Okay, so be careful when you pose, people, to have that separation in the arms over here, so you can see how skinny or how much skinnier they really are. Over here, posing wise, again, I asked her to shift the weight so so I can create that S curve on the camera right. Okay, this side where her arm is in her hand is in the pocket. You see how that shape. So push her butt out, okay, shift the weight, enhance it, push it more, so you create that S. Then you have the triangle of her arm where her hand is on the pocket. There is a gap on the other side. There is a triangle in between her legs. Okay, so triangle always create interesting images. Okay, let me give you the EXIF of this image. I was using a 105 Sigma lens. I was on high speed sinks, 1/8,000 of a second, f1.6, ISO 80. Okay, super duper sunny day, summer. The sun was right on top of the model. You can see from the shade under her on the floor, so you can see how where there was a midday sun, but no problem. You have off-camera flash on the left, huge big softbox, full power, and the game is done. Okay. Now that's the behind the scene of the setup. AD600 cheetah rice ball modifier. You see how close it is, but I picked this location because I love the contrast of the highlights and the shadow of the background. Using the 105mm at 1.6, it created that beautiful silky background. Okay, again, you see different type of pose similar to this one, but this time I ask her to put her hands on the belt loop, create again that gap in between her hands, her arms, sorry, okay, look past me but look into the light, create a triangle between the legs. I ask you to put the legs on the step on the ground, so create that the triangle, arch your back, push your butt out, okay, open your shoulder so the chest comes out, and create stronger, very powerful image. Take a lower angle and beautiful catch light, and look her face and her how you call these bones over here, those bones, the neck bones, the transition between highlights and shadows create a crispy images, okay. Let me see if there is any question. Nothing's over here. No question today. I like it. Okay. Now, darker background. One reason why I always shoot against darker background when I use off-camera flash is because they come out brighter because of the off-camera flash. So having a darker background enhance the subject because it stands out from a darker scene on the back, and because she's lit from the from the off-camera flash, she's actually popping out from the image. Now, shift the weight, create. By shifting the weight, it creates a lower shoulder angle. Okay, so it's not straight; it's different angle. The hip I push back. That creates that beautiful figure on her butt. Create a sexier pose and break the stiffness of her body. Okay, creating this triangle on her arm, between the arm and the back. You having this triangle, having the gap, show how skinny she is. Then pushing her hip back, create this beautiful triangle on her legs. Okay, and you can see from the short shadows indicates how harsh the light is on that day. Same situation as the other one. Summer day doesn't mean that you can create you cannot create beautiful images. If you know how the light behaves, then you know how to create beautiful images. Here it is, without all those text. Okay, again, she's kind of not looking straight at the camera, she's looking past the camera. I always tell them, just look past the camera, don't look straight in, just look a little bit past me, so create that interesting look. Again, breathe from your lips. You see how her lips are a little bit open, that create a sensual look as well. Again, shooting against a darker background will allow your subject to pop out more when using off-camera flash. Okay. Again, creating this gap on the left and the right between her arm and her back. Creating a gap to reduce the volume of her body, of her waist. Okay. Arch your back and push her hip out, create these beautiful figures, and that's it. The concept, as you can see, I apply the same concept of this image, the same as, for example, this image, bending her elbow, okay, or this image, arch your back, create sexy pose, her leg out, or this one, you see, gap of her arm, cross your legs, bend your legs, open your shoulder, arch your back, soft lips. Everything is always the same. The concept is always the same. Then you apply differently based on the subject of your subject. Of course, when you have a model, a sexy model, gorgeous model, you can push your limits a little bit more than the bride. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? You cannot have a bride ask her just push your hip, I want to see the butt or something like that. Of course, you have limits, you have understanding and typology of the shooting that you're doing. When you have a model, you want to push the limits, you want to show her figures more than the bride, of course. With no offense with anybody, please. Now let me see if there is any questions. Nope, 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 nope. Keep going. Very good. We're almost done, guys. Always try to be within the hour. Now remember when I told you about this image, crossing your legs? You see exactly the same thing. They are, you can see them. They are really normal people. He has glasses. He's not the best looking guy, but such a sweet guy. She's adorable. But you put the same concept, you apply to different circumstances. Okay, same thing over here. I asked Shira, just when you walk, cross your legs, hold hands, smile, look at each other, stop. Same thing. Always, guys. I tell my couple, they look gorgeous, they look okay, they are halfway. For me, it doesn't make any difference. I want my client to be happy and to fall in love with their images. So, for example, this image, they love it. Okay, an image that tells everything. That is beautiful summer day, and if you see the location, is nothing special. It's a behind me is a huge parking lot. On the left there is like ocean, but I don't think that fish swim in that ocean. How dirty it is. So it doesn't matter the location. It matters about how you create the atmosphere, lighting. Look at the light. I know where the sun is. I know that the sun will hit their head, create that separation, create that golden look. And just that's what you just need. Nothing super fancy. Okay, guys. Last image I want to share with you. This is Sarah's gorgeous model out of Las Vegas. So you see this image, I love it, but I wasn't super crazy about it. Why? Because of her the posing of her legs. She was sitting in the really awkward position. Okay, I said, Sarah, I don't like it. Let's do something else. And then I fix her a little bit. You see, when you look at this image, you look, I don't know, look straight over there, in between. I mean, I don't know why my eyes goes on the legs. I don't want that. So what I did, I just close her legs, and I put her attention on her beautiful, gorgeous face, not somewhere else. Okay, this is very masculine pose. Don't you agree with me? And this one's much more feminine, much sexier. I ask you, just close your legs, lean over, just put your finger on your chin and look past the light. Okay, so I want to end with this gorgeous picture of Sarah, and that's it, guys. I hope that you were able to grasp few golden nuggets, that I call it. You don't have to fully understand the whole concept of posing in just 1 hour of a video call, but I hope that you understand few different concepts that you can apply on your next, hopefully soon, photo shooting. Read the book of Roberto Valenzuela about posing is really, I think, is really the best book for you to understand the concept of posing. Roberto is very detailed, very analytics on everything. So I'm sure you will enjoy that book as much as I did. Beside that, if you want to learn more, of course, you can come to one of my workshop. That's how you can see me in action. And beside that, guys, thank you for tuning into today's chat. I will leave this video on the group, as well as I will post it on YouTube tomorrow. And thank you for being with me tonight. I hope that you like my dog that is sleeping next to me. His name is Prince. He's the prince of the house. And have a good night, guys. Be safe, be healthy, and wish you all the best to everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, Debbie. So the last one. Let me go back to the last image. Here it is. So I was using a 70 to 100 millimeter. Let me read it. It was at 1/2000 of a second, f 6.3, and ISO 100. Okay. Let me see the focus length. I was at 84 millimeter on this picture. Okay. So it was pretty far. It was maybe 50 yards, 70 yards. Remember that images face to face. Again, at my second shooter from here. I also removed the people over here, and then on Photoshop I create a second layer, underexpose it, and I left them with the mask out, the bride and groom, so they pop out a little bit more. Okay. Now let me. So let's analyze this posing. Like I was saying before, that's a classic pose. Look at each other, face to face. Again, I think I keep.